Hey everyone, so we need to talk about a huge economic story that's kind of flying under the radar. This isn't just about a single bad jobs report. We're looking at a massive structural crisis hitting the US workforce. So let's get into it and figure out what's really going on here.
You've probably seen the headlines, right? The U.S. economy recently lost 92,000 jobs completely unexpectedly, and unemployment is ticking up. But honestly, those numbers, they're just the symptoms. They're the tip of the iceberg of a much, much bigger problem that's been building for years and is just now starting to boil over.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This is the paradox we're going to unpack. What if the answer to this giant workforce crisis isn't some new thing we have to invent, but it's something we already have right here, right now, and are totally wasting?
Okay, so first, let's really dig into the problem itself, because this isn't some temporary slump we're in. We are talking about a fundamental change in the American population, and it has some serious economic consequences. Let's break down the numbers.
First off, we've got a pipeline problem, right at the source. See, for a population to just sustain itself, not even grow, just not shrink, you need what's called a replacement level birth rate. That's about 2.1 kids per woman. Well, for years now, the U.S. has been way below that magic number.
And just think about what that means for the future. The Congressional Budget Office is projecting that the number of young people in America, our future workers, is actually going to decline every single year for the next 3 decades. That's a whole generation of a shrinking talent pool.
Now, in the past, immigration has often been the thing that filled these kinds of gaps. But that's changing too. Projections are showing that net migration to the U.S. is probably going to turn negative around 2025. That's the first time in at least 50 years that more people will be leaving than coming in.
So you see what's happening here, right? You've got these 3 powerful forces all converging at once. The number of working-age people is going down, the pipeline of young workers is getting smaller, and immigration is dropping off. It's basically a perfect storm that puts our economic growth and even our global competitiveness at real risk.
But like we said, there's this huge paradox at the heart of all this. While the country is staring down a historic talent shortage, there's an incredible, unbelievable pool of talent already here that we are just systematically ignoring. So who are these people? Check this out. About half, a full 50% of recently arrived immigrants who are authorized to work have at least a bachelor's degree. We're talking about engineers, nurses, financial analysts, people with global experience who are ready to jump in and contribute from day one. And this slide right here just perfectly shows the disconnect. Because of things like complicated credential rules and, frankly, hiring biases, what ends up happening? A neurosurgeon ends up driving for Uber. A civil engineer is stocking shelves at a grocery store. A financial analyst is pulling shifts in a warehouse. It is a staggering waste of human potential.
I mean, this quote just sums it all up, doesn't it? The problem isn't a lack of skill or training. The talent is here. It's qualified and it's ready to fill these critical gaps in our economy. The system is just failing to recognize it.
It's one thing to look at data, but it's another thing to see how this affects real people. These individual stories, they don't just show us the problem, they actually show us the solution. So let's talk about a man named Jawad. Jawad's situation is just a textbook example of what we mean by underemployment. He was a fully trained, experienced nurse from Tunisia, but when he immigrated to Chicago, he spent years driving for Uber and working in warehouses, completely unable to use any of his medical skills.
And here's the absolute irony. While this was all going on, a local hospital right there in the same city was short 20 nurses. The need was there, the skill was there, but there was no bridge connecting them. For Jawad, that bridge ended up being a job coach and a specialist who helped him navigate the system. And the result? He landed a job in the ICU of that exact same hospital.
So Jawad's success is an amazing story, for sure. But what does it actually mean when you scale it up? Well, the economic impact of unlocking this kind of talent isn't small. It's enormous. Let's look at the numbers.
So when skilled immigrants first get help, they're making on average just $9,000 a year in those low-skill jobs. But after they get placed in a job that actually uses their skills, their average starting salary skyrockets to over $66,000. I mean, that is a truly life-changing difference. Let that sink in for a second. A $57,000 raise per person in the very first year. And this isn't just about one person's paycheck. This new income creates a really powerful ripple effect through the whole economy. So what happens with that extra money? It doesn't just vanish, right? It flows right back into the economy. It becomes more spending at local businesses. It becomes more tax revenue for schools and roads. It directly contributes to GDP growth. When you multiply that across tens of thousands of people, you're talking about billions of dollars being pumped into the U.S. economy.
So it really makes you wonder, are we looking at this all wrong? Is this group of highly skilled, underemployed professionals some kind of problem we need to manage, or are they actually one of our nation's most powerful and right now most untapped economic assets? Definitely something to think about.